Kristina Lucia shares how she transforms storytelling and handmade art into a sustainable business that helps families communicate, heal, and connect across generations without losing heart, creativity, or balance. Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyan, your host and Lead Machine coach and founder of the Lead Machine Marketing Group. I'm here to help you tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream life by interviewing interesting guests who have done it, who are doing it, and who are loving it and making a difference in the world. So whether you're just starting out or want to take your business to the next level, this is an episode that I think you're going to like because of that bent of we all have of creating. As entrepreneurs, we love to create, but how do we turn that into a business that can make a difference and also can be profitable? Kristina Lucia, I got that, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Perfect.
All right. She's an artist, author, and creator of Curiously Curated Creations. I had to practice that before you came on. Where storytelling and curiously created creations of Kristina Lucia, where storytelling and handmade art come together to spark imagination and emotional connection. She's got years of the grind in the corporate world, which I hope you enjoyed that while you were there, but you turn that personal healing journey into a creative business that helps families communicate and grow together through story and play, which is a really great thing, especially for the children. She's also an author of the Bella Lucia series and creator of handcrafted animal companions, which I've seen on your website, designed to support emotional awareness for children and adults alike. And why this episode matters to me is because so many entrepreneurs, like I said, feel torn between creativity and practicality. Her story shows that you don't have to choose. You can build something meaningful, profitable, and human at the same time. So I'm really excited to dive into this. Kristina, thank you for coming to the show. Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. What inspired you to turn your love of storytelling and art into a business? And how did CCC first come into life?
Oh gosh, it's quite a story. So it did start with my own healing journey. I was living what so
Hmm.
many entrepreneurs and creatives do, where I was living a double life. I grew up in what you call a dysfunctional family,
Hmm.
where I was very quickly at the age of 3 labeled a scapegoat and was pretty much emotionally and pretty much most of my childhood, definitely by 18, financially on my own. And I always knew I would not live where I grew up. And so at 18, I flew the coop, and it was made very clear you have to make a living. And so, unfortunately, as a creative and not only being part of dysfunctional family, but also being a part of family where they're not really any creatives, there was no clear line on how I can make a living being
Hmm.
creative. So I found myself using my knowledge and using my networking skills where I was landing jobs. And I always thought, oh, you know what? I'm going to work hard and I'm going to network my way into better positions and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't clicking. In my early 30s, about almost a decade ago, actually, I had a huge fight with one of my caregivers, and that led me to start going to therapy. And what happened is when I started that healing journey in therapy is I realized not only was I living a double life, but I also was raised in a family that there wasn't a sense of communication. There also wasn't a strong sense of talking about feelings and having
Hmm.
things recognized in others. And because I was a scapegoat, I was bullied and traumatized in a way that I had become comfortable with certain things. So as I started healing from these personal traumas, I realized I was carrying that over into all the other areas of my life. And that's why
Hmm.
I wasn't uncomfortable in situations I really shouldn't have been in. I was okay being in corporate and Wall Street offices where I wasn't able to shine my full growth because I was used to that. I was used to be adapting. I was used to going into whatever box people wanted me to do. So
Yeah.
when I'm also a dancer as well. I'm also a competitive Latin dancer. And when I
Hmm.
had a bad injury, I was in my ballet class. I ruptured my Achilles tendon. And what happened was
Ouch.
I had all the doctor's appointments, I had surgery, all the things. And because of the nature of that injury, I was on medical leave for a good solid 4, almost 5 months. And as
Mhm.
opposed to sitting around and just watching movies, I got busy. I started reaching out to people. I started networking. I started researching my options and really putting forth, I want a different career. I want to pivot into a career that I can be my true self. And that led to meeting my career coach. And then fast forward a year later, when I did get laid off from that job, it was scary, but at the same time, I also knew my higher power for me is God. And so I knew it was God's way of
Mm.
pushing me towards what I've already been prepping for. And ironically, which I didn't realize through all of this healing. So in the midst of this healing journey, there are also other things I needed to heal from. And there was one breakup in particular where I decided I'm gonna get a new skill because as though I don't have enough skills. And I started learning to
Uh-huh.
crochet, and then I eventually
Mm.
taught myself how to knit. And so that's how I started creating these characters. It was loveys
Mm.
and blankets and eventually stuffed animals for my friends' children. And when they had the new baby, I would make stuffed animal for the older child. So when I was laid off and I was looking for a new job, a new career, and in this career pivot, a contact of mine saw my work and said, "There's a job, there's a business here." And I
Mm.
had that epiphany moment of realizing that I was an entrepreneur. And I started pitching that idea and another idea. And when I kept pitching the idea that I create stuffed characters and tell stories to them, people kept gravitating towards it. And I think that's a big part about marketing and
Huh.
developing your business is you do have to pitch a lot of ideas. Not, I would say a lot of ideas. You have to pitch ideas consistently, but you also have to read the room a bit and see why people are reacting to
Yeah.
why they're gravitating towards you. And, that yes, people told me I was crazy, even though people were gravitating towards it. But the characters led me to start blogging, which led me to realize I was also a writer, which was a big piece of the puzzle that was missing. And by
Mhm.
the end of 2020, I realized I was destined to write my family book series. And then from there, and even now, currently at the beginning of 2026, more ideas are blooming because when you are a creative, the ideas are endless, the possibilities are endless, but you begin
Mhm.
seeing how, when you identify your mission, how you can adapt it to different age levels, how you can adapt it to different businesses, and how you can work with them and radiate this mission to others. So it's an exciting journey. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was wondering, how did your corporate world and experiences there, did that experience shape the way you approach the business and the creativity structure in your entrepreneurship today? Does that help?
Absolutely. It does a lot. A lot of what I did, especially when I was on Wall Street, is I was an executive assistant, but I was also involved in a lot of event planning. And so
Mhm.
I'm really good about
Oh.
I was always good at reading people's energy, but when you're working with high-powered executives and you're doing event planning and you're doing the day-to-day things, you have no one behind you. You're constantly taking care of everybody else as well as yourself. So there are daily structural tasks that come to me very naturally, like keeping track of expenses, categorizing expenses,
Mhm.
communicating with people, being aware of people's busy seasons, things like that. That definitely comes into play. The other piece that comes into play is observing how these people work, observing that it is a combination of getting out there and physically being in front of people. It's also a lot of cold emailing and pitching. And I think that's also something
Mhm.
too, because even one of my executives I worked for the 9 years I was on Wall Street, he would sit in his office and make 100 calls a day without batting an eye, especially during a voting season where they were really plugging for the vote. And people
Mhm.
think I'm crazy when I say right now I'm interacting with around 20 accounts a day because I'm doing a lot of in-person marketing. But in periods of this journey where I haven't been doing a lot of in-person marketing, I'll interact with as many as 40 accounts a day. And people think it's crazy, but what they're not realizing is you have to be aware of the numbers. For every 10 people you email, you're
Mhm.
lucky if one person's going to email you back. And even with that one person emails you back, the slim chance that they're actually gonna continue the conversation with you, that they're actually gonna log on and add themselves to your email list, or they're gonna have that meeting with you. And even when they do get that meeting, the odds that they're gonna introduce you to that next person are so slim. So it is a lot of, I feel like my time on Wall Street taught me that analytical element of really gauging, because there are days where I feel bad. I'm like, gosh, I didn't interact with any accounts, but I'm like, no, because you had in-person meetings. No, because you're
Yeah.
following up with those physical leads. And that's something else I do too a lot, and I think I learned this also from my time in corporate on Wall Street, is I do vet rooms, meaning just because it's a networking group doesn't mean people know how to network. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean people know how to think of their second and third degree connections. It doesn't mean that people aren't gonna respond to your email within 24 hours, and that's something I do a lot too when I visit networking groups or I'm considering on joining a community. I do look at that too. I look at, are they are people reaching out to me? How are they reaching out to me? Are they open to referring me to people? Are they, because I do think in second and third degrees, like I have a joke where I can, if I get you talking, majority of the time, I can find a referral for you. I can find someone that I'm like, "Oh, hey, I have that person for you. I can talk to you."
Yeah, and that reciprocity really helps too. Once you, if you can bring them someone who's a qualified lead,
Mm.
obviously having a warm referral is a great prospect to have. But also, they're more likely to refer you to someone. Think about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, but it is a
What
patient game when you're creative. Oh, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned, oh, I didn't want to go past this because
Yeah.
you mentioned reading the room and pitching and reading the room. So when you were creative, a lot of times you might be afraid to pitch because you're creative and everything is flowery and everything's good. But you never think about, okay, what do I need to say or do or show up? How do I show up so that people are attracted to what I have to say or how I'm showing up? And if you don't read the room, if you aren't paying attention to that, you'll spend a lot of time before you, if you ever hit that, that one thing that is okay, this is something because people, you said earlier, people were attracted to this thing and they probably love the storytelling. Everyone loves stories, but the cute animals and those two things together, that was your secret sauce. And but of course, the way you network and the way you show up had a lot to do with how it became successful. So tell us a little bit more about reading the room and how that stuff lines up for you.
Absolutely. So I read the room in the sense of I first determine, am I in more of a B2B room, a business to business, or am I in a B2C space? And I treat it very differently. If I'm in a
Hmm.
B2B room, I'll go in a little more aggressively and say, hey, I'd like to have a conversation and see if there's alignment between our brands. If it's a B2C, I engage in more of a personal conversation. I get to
Hmm.
know them. What are their interests? What do they like? What's the problem, et cetera. And I do that with B2Bs too, but I can do it a
Yeah.
little more direct, a little more forward. And in light of what you said, so for example, like the best way I can do it is share like how I pitch to a B2C as opposed to a B2B.
Yeah.
So when I'm pitching to my B2Cs, what I do is I have what you call an ambassador program where I offer families to work with me, where I give them 20% off my books and the stuffed toys in return for a post. And in addition to that, I give them the opportunity to participate in my giveaways so that they gain there's no work on them. All they have to do is reshare the post, and then I go, then they gain followers from it. I'm actually developing it further where there will be little coffee giveaways and things like, and I also email them on a monthly basis and give them coloring drawings. I also engage with their pages on a weekly basis. So I'm supporting the
Mm-hmm.
B2B angle. So that's B2C because I'm directly
Yeah.
selling a product to them. With
Right.
B2B, I focus more on the experience of what I offer. So that's where I'm actually launching my community building portion. I already do
Hmm.
community building for businesses for their B2Cs, meaning because I write a family book series, I do already do events with businesses where I come in, I do a book reading, and then the children and I do crafts while the parents are able to mingle and relax and whatnot. And again, that
Hmm.
can be catered in different ways. And again, I read the room, gauge how the kids are. Sometimes I read while they're coloring. Sometimes it's a little more structured where I read first and then they go play. So for B2Bs, I'm actually working with B2Bs now in creating community experiences for their employees, where I come in and we do drawing and art exercises, and I lead them through meditative
Huh.
questions that allow them to be vulnerable and connect with not only themselves, but with the people in the room. And the goal of this is I keep using this analogy. I keep on saying it's my Trojan horse into a company because
Hmm.
my goal by approaching businesses a B2B as a community builder is for them to hire me to create marketing experiences for their clients, for them to hire me as a client gift resource, especially if you're a service that services young families, especially if you're a
Hmm.
service that wants to develop a rapport with local schools, or maybe you're a veteran and you want to service veteran families or current service members in your community and whatnot, and develop that awareness and show that your firm supports these causes. And again, this is all about relationship building. It's all about gaining
Hmm.
trust. And the reality is you need to trust me, and I recognize that. And so even though I might go into a B2B a little more aggressive and say, hey, I'd like to see if there's alignment, I'd love to see if you'd be interested in this. The reality is I'm still dating them. I'm just dating them in a different way than I date a B2C, but both ways, I'm asking you to trust me and I'm asking you to welcome me in, because at the end of the day, the mission of my family book series, the mission of all the events I create, all the things I do, the products I create, it's all about communication. It's all about connecting with ourselves and building awareness of how we're feeling and why we're feeling, and being able to recognize the people around us, how they're feeling. Because when we communicate more effectively,
Hmm.
we live fuller lives. We're more
Yeah.
productive. We have happier homes. We have happier workspaces and whatnot. And this need is rising with all the technology and all the AI and all there's so many disconnects now. There's becoming more and more of a need for us to really connect as humans. And that's what I'm here to do, is provide open that
Yeah.
door for others.
Yeah. So you mentioned community. When you talk about community, are you talking about like online communities, Circle and Go Collab and things like that, where people can share their experiences and interact? Is that what you mean? Or are you talking about events or a combination?
It's actually a combination. When I approach B2Bs right now, I'm approaching it as their direct workspace, their direct employees. I actually am approaching shared workspaces as well, because again, the part of the shared workspace model, which is intriguing for so many of us entrepreneurs. I please disagree with me if you think I'm wrong, but I feel the lure of it is that it can get lonely at home. It can get lonely working from home. And it's nice to go to a
Hmm.
space where you see familiar faces. But
Yeah.
ideally, working together in business deals come when we get to know each other. And low stimulation activities are a great way for all of us to just relax. Like something that I'll be sharing with your audience is, as a creative, I create all my coloring drawings of my characters. And that's always my prime lead magnet. And when I
Mm.
meet people in networking circles and I find out they have young children, or I find out they have nieces or nephews, or maybe they're a grandparent, it's just a nice way for me to say, hey, I have a coloring drawing for the Christmas holiday. I'd love to share that with you. Or, hey, like I just released my spring coloring drawing. I'd love to share that with you. It's just a nice, gentle way to get to know people and to stay on their radar. And so creating these experiences like that, and yes, they could be online too, because like I do, even though I'm located in New York, I do bebop around and travel a lot. So I think of that too, because I'm in Austin, Texas a lot because I have friends out there. And 2025, I was out there 4 times alone. And the past several years, I've been out there at least 3 to 4 times. And so I think of that too. I am open to the possibility of doing online gatherings because again, you want to you want to develop a rhythm and a rapport with people you're working with. And if it
Yeah.
means online, if I can't get myself physically out there, at least if it's online, it's something. Obviously, in person is always going to be best because of the
Mhm.
energy and like the feeling of the room. And it's just nice to be in front of another human being. It's a nice, refreshing thing.
Yeah, live events and live networking events are, especially events with a singular or a common purpose that everyone's there to grow or to learn a new skill or something like that. That's a really great way to show up and
Yeah.
network and get, especially if it's aligned, like you said, vetting the room. So, your growth, what are some of your challenges that you've had facing growing from this passion project or side hustle into turning that into a real business?
I
What
think
helped you
that
move through that?
Yeah, I think the biggest struggle is that as a creative, I'm very dynamic and I have to be very careful what I'm pitching because there's a lot of ways that I work through my business. And
Mhm.
I have to be careful, especially when I'm networking, because people, when you're a creative, people like to give you ideas and people like to put you in boxes that you don't belong in. And the thing
Mm.
too, with
Mhm.
creative, I always say this, it's like a train and you have to find the car that's not crowded. And a lot of times people are like, you should do this, you should do that. I'm like, hey, no. Like those are all the cookie cutter things. Those are all the things where you have to be viral or have a celebrity status because people do not like risk. And that's the other
Mhm.
biggest struggle as a creative is that I actually said this on a networking call yesterday, and I'll share it with your audience here. So I am a huge fan of Robert Redford. He is my all-time favorite leading actor. I love his movies. Like I was so sad when he passed in 2025. But I honestly found something he said so brilliant. And that when he created Sundance, he created for people to have the space to create. And he said that. He said something so, I'm paraphrasing what
Mm.
he said, but he basically said, which is so true, art takes time and that
Mm.
means money. And it also means risk. And if you're not a creative, you're not necessarily aware of that. I'm
Mm.
very honest about this. I wrote, currently now, I have 15 books published and 9 coloring books. It took me 6 books before I felt truly confident with how I draw my characters. And
Mm.
just to get people color, there's at least 20 to 25 illustrations per each book, and that's not even including all the storyboard drawings and the coloring drawings and all the other things. So people can do the math, but we're talking about like hundreds of drawings that weren't even published, let alone the hundreds that were published for me to feel confident. And honestly, I'm not
Mm.
gonna lie, there is that inner ego where it's like, gosh, why didn't I redo this? I thought, no, because you are demonstrating vulnerability, and that's
Mm.
important. You need to be vulnerable to make it as an artist. You will never make it as any type of creative unless you're willing to be vulnerable. And it's not about learning from your mistakes because something may seem right in the moment, but maybe a year later or even a month later, it may seem wrong, and that's okay. And that's real vulnerability is being okay with that. Being okay with, you know what? I did what was right in the moment. I did it. All right. Now I'm going to try something else. Or maybe I'm going to try that again. Or maybe I'm going to keep this because it was right. And that's my biggest struggle. And I find that's also where learn my own personal journey of learning, you know what? I'm only going to pitch this in the meeting. It feels bland, it feels limited sometimes, but you know what? That's what I'm going to pitch. And it was funny because I pitched this idea for the first time this week 2 different times. And one of my contacts who's actually becoming a friend of mine, who was actually a friend, not becoming, but is a friend of mine, we're actually having a further conversation about it because he's a mortgage broker. And he said,
Mhm.
"No, I'm always thinking of how to stay in front of my clients, how to stay in mind." So we're
Mhm.
actually gonna, in light of what you asked me before, we're actually gonna brainstorm this further as because he's a solo entrepreneur. So we're actually gonna brainstorm it further, which is actually my goal of doing community building, brainstorm it. How can we create marketing experiences for his clients? Because he does have clients that have families. He does have
Mhm.
clients that communication is king. He has to be aware of so many details in their lives in order to file a proper mortgage loan for them, a
Yeah.
mortgage agreement, et cetera. You just never know. And yeah, that's a bit of this.
You mentioned people wanting to give you ideas. How do you stay disciplined? Because as a creative, I'm an IT professional, marketer, musician, father, husband. I play a lot of roles. I love to create. I'm always creating something, a new funnel or a new content plan, marketing plan. I, now that AI is prevalent, I'm building tools to help me move faster, and I'm always creating. I'm creating something for my podcast right now to speed up production so that I get A plus show notes every time without having to lift a lot, without having to review and all those things. So the question is, how do you keep the discipline to say, you mentioned, I'm only going to pitch this thing. It's boring, but you know that it works. If it works, then you should continue to do it. But how do you have the discipline to not go off and keep creating stuff without ever taking it to the pitch? Or do you do that too?
I do it too, but I keep it to myself. And I keep it to
Yeah.
myself because I wait for the actual conversation to see how it goes. Because you think
Mm,
about an elevator pitch, which is where I only pitch one piece of my business. I'm seeing it
hmm
as my lead magnet, my Trojan horse into a deeper conversation. I'm also seeing it as because the reality is it needs to be simple and easy for people to see to want it. And it also has to be something about them. And I realize by pitching, building community among their employees, it's about them. I'm offering them something to make their day easier. I'm offering them a tool for greater productivity, for
hmm
better work morale, et cetera, et cetera. I'm making it about them. And
Yeah.
of course, then when the conversation develops, that's where I can dig deeper. And because also, too, a lot of times when I'm in these rooms, I'm working with a lot of very linear thinkers. They're not thinking in second and third degree connections. They're not thinking out of the box. So I have a responsibility not to hold a hand, but to be patient and not to overwhelm them. And for example, there is this one idea I have, which I probably will never pitch in an elevator pitch because it is very specific to architects and interior designers. And part of the reason
hmm
why I'm also keeping that, even if I was in a room of all architects, I probably wouldn't pitch that right out because I also think it's a matter of finding the right person who's interested in it. Because again, when you're pitching a creative idea and you need a creative to connect you with clients that would want that idea, other creatives get very cagey and they can get very like, nope, my job, my client, my toy, blah, 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 blah. So that's also where I also stay. And when I'm not trying to say I don't think it's bland. And I shouldn't say I think it's bland, but I realize it's not because the fact that people are approaching me after and are
Right.
saying, hey, that's interesting. I want to learn more because, and that's where you have to die. I feel like all of us, like, the struggle is real. I feel like it goes for myself and everybody else. It's that you have to realize you can't overfeed your audience. And I'm going to quote there's another comedian that I admire. We all know Seinfeld. We all know Jerry Seinfeld. And I really enjoy listening to him talk on interviews about his strategies and whatnot. And he said something very powerful where he said he keeps his shows to a certain time slot because he said you always want to leave the audience while they're hot.
hmm
You can be having the greatest show. It's a discipline to stop at the 50 minutes because if you stay on too long, people are going to get tired of you and you don't want that to happen. So when everyone thought I was crazy for ending Seinfeld when he ended the series, he said, we were so hot and we wanted to leave hot. That's why. And I feel as a market, because we're both in marketing, we're both in sales, we're both out there pitching our ideas and
Yeah.
looking for leads and whatnot. And it is that discipline of giving them a taste and engaging them to come in for more. And it is
hmm
hard. Like I'm a performer. I'm like, I want to give it my 150% and like just giving a little elevator pitch. I'm like, but you have to. It's that discipline that you don't want to. And a lot of people that I admire that are successful understand that. They understand how much to give and when to end.
hmm
to ensure that you're feeding the rope. It's a interesting slope.
Yeah, it is. So, for creatives who struggle to balance heart and sustainability, what systems or boundaries or mindset shifts help you build something that actually is going to last?
We have to focus on things that are timeless. We have to focus
Hmm.
on human nature, things we're always going to need. Thing that I find that a lot of creatives miss, or because like when people hear I'm a writer, for example, they get really excited and they want to tell me their idea for the book they've always wanted to write. And it can get exhausting sometimes because you're like, again, I have to pull back because I already am listening. And a lot of times I can figure out like what they need to do. But also as the businesswoman, I'm like, okay, I need to get paid. Like I can't just be sitting here giving free consultations because it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work
Yeah.
outlining a book and like
Hmm.
coaching somebody and whatnot. And what people don't realize is that you have to have a very clear mission in what you're creating and why you're creating it. And the other piece of it is it's a marriage of you and your audience. You need to give you a
Hmm.
piece of yourself, but you need to ensure the audience is coming to you as well. It can't be all about you. And also, too, there has to be a clear why, a very clear, bigger purpose. When you're creating, if you just want to create for the sake to create, that's great. But if you really want to build a business behind it, you need to be very clear about why. Are you looking to create to transition careers? Are you looking to create a new style of marketing? Are you looking to create an online course? Are you looking to become a public speaker? All the things. All there's so many. And the thing is, there's no right or wrong answer. It's a matter of happening in what's right for you and what you're really aspiring to do with it and what because a lot of people do things because it's just a bucket list. It's just like what they want
Yeah.
and what they want to do. So I find as a creative, you do have to have that discipline. And also I feel like when I'm going to use my personal self as an example because I don't want to put other artists in this bucket in all fairness to other creatives listening. But I find my biggest thing as an artist, I always tell people is that yes, I'm very creative. Yes, I'm very dynamic, but I'm also very disciplined. And you have to have both as a creative. And a lot of
Hmm.
times, one or the other, or you see a lopsided scale. And it really is
Yeah.
a very personal journey of, like you were referring before about being a musician, you have
Hmm.
to have a discipline to practice. As a dancer, I have a discipline to practice every day because the reality is that the muscles we need to create these forms of art are not muscles that are used in daily tasks and daily life.
Right.
And it
Hmm.
is a choice and it is a discipline and it goes into building a business and it goes into so many other things. And I think when you are a creative, you do have that unique gift of understanding that portion, but whether or not we embrace it is another story, but that is an important
Right.
component.
Yeah. So, looking back, how did this business change you, not just professionally, but personally and emotionally?
Oh gosh, so many ways. It definitely has changed me professionally in that it's given me confidence to say no. It's given me
Mhm.
confidence to say no to projects or no to potential things that are not what I want,
Mhm.
not what I'm capable of. So many times in my and Wall Street career, I thought, oh, this is all I'm destined for, or it's just not my time. I'm like, no, it is my time. I need to step up. Like, I need to aim for this kind of contract. I need to aim for this kind of client. And for example, like my ambassador program is the perfect example. I can't tell you how many no's I got till I got a yes. People told me I was wrong. People told me, no, I want it gifted. No, I want to be paid. And it's great that these people want that. But what they're also not considering is I need an ROI. I need a return on investment. I can't just pay you and give away my products and not get clients or not get sales and whatnot. And from what I'm seeing from the
Right.
content, like I'm not going to get that, and that's what
Mhm.
it's done for me. Also, it's also developed the ability to think even further out of the box and realize, you know what? I need a strong B2B lane. Yes, I have my B2C lane, which is great, but honestly, all businesses need a strong B2B lane. And on a personal level, it's not always pretty. It's not always pretty. I've had a lot of shifts in my personal life because of this career path. And part of that's because when you take a risk, even though it has nothing to do with the other person, people tend to make it about them, and it does
Mhm.
make people nervous. But the healing gives you the courage to know, because right now, I'll be honest, I'm in a major rewrite in so many areas of my life, even like developing this B2B lane along with what I already have and whatnot. And things in my personal life I'm rewriting right now. And it is scary. It is scary because you don't know what door is going to open. You don't know where it's going to lead, but I know I'm going to get where I want to be. And it's not always easy and it's not always pretty, but it is
Mhm.
worth it. It's
Life
worth
is
it.
not pretty.
Fighting for, yeah. It's worth fighting for the life we want, I think. And I'm fighting
Yeah,
for
I
the life
agree.
I want.
That's a good quote there.
Fighting for the
Yeah.
life I want.
Yeah. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. And sometimes it takes time and patience and persistence, and you fail a lot. It's better to fail fast and find out what's working so
Mhm.
that you can keep moving ahead. So
Yeah.
it's been really interesting talking with you. I don't have any. I have one grandchild, and she's living in Russia right now. So
Wow.
I've not met her. She's a step grandchild,
Oh,
and she's what, maybe a month and a half old. Her name is Sylvia, and she's just as cute as
congratulations.
a button. But I would love to be able to send her something like this, but you can't send stuff to Russia. But when the time comes, we'll definitely have to get her something,
Oh, thank
for
you. I
sure.
appreciate that.
And maybe we can send a coloring book. But I know I get videos from my stepson, and he says apparently babies like black and white because
Yes.
she's looking at this black and white shapes and
Yes.
smiling and cooing and stuff. And so that's really
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, that's so great. So
Well, yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say it's ironic because that's why I say if people are wondering why I say family book series, because I write as much for the grandparents and the parents as much for the child, especially
Yeah.
during the early ages, because the reality is we read to our children. I'm an aunt myself and a godmother. And when I read to my nieces and nephew, I I focus on my tone. My friend's little boy, who's also my nephew, also I refer to as my nephew. I love reading him, for example, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, because I do all the voices. And he gets
Oh,
engaged and he gets so excited about it. But the reality is, reading to our children is so important. And it's as much but
yeah.
our health as for their health. And it really gives us that bonding moment. And so it really is like for everybody in the family. It's not just for the kiddo, it's for you guys too. I keep you guys in mind when I'm creating.
Yeah. Yeah. Love to. Wow, my screen just freaked out.
Oh
Are you
no.
still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes.
Okay. Um, yeah, that was weird. My screen freaked out. My notes went over what way over here. Here they are. Wow, that was weird. So children's books. I used to love to read to my children, and they're grown now. And but they bring that up. They bring it up, and I remember when you used to read this, and I used to tell them stories that were just fantastically and not true, but about rode motorcycle up or my bicycle up a tornado and came back down, and told them about and there was a tornado, and but none of that's true. But they loved it, and so storytelling is timeless, timeless. So I'm glad that you latched on to storytelling, especially for children, because it really makes a difference. For those creatives out there who are going, wow, how can I maybe replicate some of her success in my business? So what are three things that our listeners can do, especially those creatives out there? I have a number of them who are clients. What can they do today to put some of these ideas into action?
I strongly encourage this is finding time each day for yourself, something low stimulation to reconnect and let those creative juices flow. The second
Hmm.
thing is reconnect with your mission. What is your mission? What is the purpose? Who can it serve? And then from there, I would encourage to brainstorm how that mission can be applied to both a B2B setting and a B2C setting. So that
Ah,
by having that dual pitch and having that dual ability, because you never know. You never know how people are going to identify with you. You never know how people like I was just in a meeting with a contact of mine who's a real estate agent, for example. And we spoke about the whole specter of what I'm pitching right now. We spoke about community building among real estate agents, and also we also spoke about a marketing experience with potential or past clients. I also shared with her the client gift lane. And after talking to her, we talked for an hour, and she was also sharing things with me because I was thinking, how can I refer her to all the things? And she said, "Oh, you know what? My client just had a baby. My other client just had a baby." So you never know what people are
mhm.
gonna latch onto. But then, like I said, my friend who's a mortgage broker, he said, "I'm always looking for ways to connect with my clients and keep in mind."
Yeah,
Because in light of another quote where the quote that you coined for me, where I said, "It's worth fighting for the life you want."
yeah.
I also am using the quote too, that I give people the space to be vulnerable.
Mm.
So, by working with businesses on the marketing experience with their clients, we're creating a space where businesses are able to really talk to their clients in an organic way. For example, if I'm hired to do a painting class, and if the budget allows, if we're able to send each client home with one of the books, and we write a note from the client that if we write a note from my client that hired me to organize the event, is buying the gifts as books and whatnot, we're infiltrating people's personal spaces in a very or natural, organic way. We're not bugging them with a
Mhm.
cold email. We're not knocking on their door. We're not cold calling them. We're simply
Yeah.
acknowledging that they're humans and we care about them and we want them to have the best life. And I think being able to take quiet time for ourselves and let those creative juices flow, and also having the dual pitches and being able to talk to people in a couple of different lanes gives room for like creative juices to flow when we're networking and talking as well.
Well, those are some awesome suggestions. And I don't know if you notice, you're listening. If you're not a creative, if you're an entrepreneur, you are, but you might not be creating in paint or crocheting or whatever, but you're still creating. And those are great tips that any entrepreneur can put to use. So, Christina, what's the best place that people can connect with you? And you might even have a free gift. How do we get that?
Yes, I do. So I do have a coloring drawing for everyone because, like I said, I do encourage low stimulation activities. So
Hmm.
coloring is a great, simple activity, something you just pull out and just take 10 minutes to reset, and or even longer if you need. So you can always find my coloring drawings on my website. I'll make sure I get Paul a link to the current coloring drawing. My website's www.christina with a K, Lucia.com. I'm also active on Instagram as well. And I also have
Hmm.
my LinkedIn page too. So I'll make sure I get you guys all those links so you have them.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina Lucia. Remember, faith and action go hand in hand. So keep the pedal to the metal. Until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyan and Christina Lucia. Thank you so much for sharing your creative bent on entrepreneurship. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyan, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.